Oh yeah, boys. Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like it mixed. Woo!
Yes, we do. And two of the very best at mixing the martial arts will take center stage in San Diego, California, going down tomorrow. Marlon Vera versus Dominic Cruz headlines the UFC's return to the audience outside of the Apex in San Diego. And thank you for joining us as we talk all about it with all of you. I am Mike Heck. Joining me, Mr. Shaheen Al-Shatti, best writer in the world. And my best friend, the Prince of Positivity, tied for the best writer in the world, Alexander K. Lee.
I just want to be the best live weigh-in host. I just wanted the best live weigh-in host. That's all I want. That's all.
You already got that title.
Okay. No one can take that from me. No one can take that from me.
Yes, you wear that hat very proudly, and you are the best tough recapper in the history of the business.
Wow.
Which one means more?
Well, take it easy. Hold on. That second one.
That's a tough question.
That second one. There's a lot of competition. Take it easy. Let's not. I'm not ready to wear that crown yet. Come on now.
Fair enough.
We're burying the lead. My man Mike Heck is back. We've missed you so much. How you feeling, my guy?
I'm okay. It's been one of these, you know. Today's been more of like a, but we're hanging in there. We're getting after it. I feel like talking about fights kind of gets me to forget about how I'm actually feeling, and that's what it's all about. And we're going to turn it over to you, Shaheen, because we got ourselves quite the main event in one of the UFC's deepest divisions, the bantamweight division. Marlon Vera has just been on absolute tear. This guy looks prime and ready to not only be main eventing cards, but to fight for the title. Of course, things are a little hairy right now. We got Aljamain and TJ. We have all these big bantamweight fights coming up, and he's going to take on a guy that many consider to be the very best in the history of this division, in Dominic Cruz, who has looked pretty good. He's got a couple of wins, and he's also one of the biggest what-ifs in the history of the sport, because what are we talking about? Is Dominic Cruz even in this fight if he didn't suffer some of those incredible injuries that he dealt with throughout his career that cost him 6-7 years of his career? So here we are, the year of our Lord 2022, Shaheen Al-Shatti, Marlon Vera versus Dominic Cruz headlining this card, a potential 5 rounds, potential 25 minutes. This fight is fantastic, is it not?
Oh, this fight rules. I love everything about this fight. This fight to me is so emblematic of how good the bantamweight division is, right? Because this isn't even people who I would imagine we're talking about, like, you know, top 1, top 2 type of contenders. Like, this is sort of periphery, lower down the list. Cheeto, maybe not as much, and it's still so damn compelling and so good. I love everything about this fight for a couple of reasons. One, to me, the story of Marlon Vera, Cheeto Vera, over the course of the past 9 years is so compelling. The way that this guy has really transformed himself into a fan favorite and like a legitimately great fighter. Like, he is a legitimately very, very talented, good fighter who is in title contention and deserves to be in title contention. And I don't think anyone would have predicted that when he first came into the UFC in 2014. If you remember, he was on that Ultimate Fighter, the first one with Latin America. And he was sort of an afterthought on that show. Like, he had a very heartfelt story about, you know, wanting the surgery for his daughter and things like that. But for the most part, I don't think anybody saw Cheeto coming out of that show and was like, hey, this is a guy who we're going to be talking about for the next 8 years as, you know, one of the most fun guys in this division, one of the most talented guys in this division. And he has really transformed himself through hard work, through grit, through the roller coaster that is MMA, wins and losses, into someone who is just such a compelling and entertaining and talented figure in this division. And this is sort of his moment, right? Like, we have been waiting to see if he could sort of pass the tests that we think he can maybe pass. The Rob Font one was a big one. But for a while, it seemed like he would sort of get to this point and then he would stumble, right? It's the Jose Aldo loss, the Song Yadong loss, even the John Lineker loss way back in the day. But now he sort of feels like he's leveled up. He's evolved to the point where he's ready for this stuff. And whereas on the other side, I mean, you have Dominic Cruz, who I think probably bantamweight's a weird division to crown a GOAT. But I think if you were to crown a GOAT, Dominic Cruz is probably the bantamweight GOAT. And this is sort of his last run, right? Like, we have seen, you know, him come back from the first losing streak of his entire career to win these past 2 fights. It hasn't been quite the Dominic Cruz of old in that he's just blowing people out. He has been in much more competitive, closer fights than he used to be. It definitely feels as though age and just sort of the years and the wear and tear has started to pick up on him. But he is still one of the smartest guys in the entire sport, and his fight IQ can carry him through these fights. And to some degree, his whole approach still works to such a fantastic degree, right? Like, he's still such a unique guy in this division. Maybe not as much as he was 10 years ago, where nobody had any clue what he was doing, but he's still so hard to figure out, and it usually takes guys a round or two to sort of figure out and warm into what Dom's doing in there. So to me, I love everything about this fight. The crossroads of it, what it could mean for Cheeto, what it could mean for Cruz. Is this sort of the last title run that Cruz has in him? And is this sort of the first title run that Cheeto has in him? I think all of it is so compelling. And it speaks to just how ridiculously good this 135-pound division is, because it's so good. I still maintain lightweight's best division in the sport, but bantamweight's an easy second for me, and I can't wait for this.
AK bantamweights. Am I right?
They're the best. They're the best. No, I mean, lightweight is still great too. I've definitely tilted probably more towards favoring the 135-pound division, but probably just because there's just a lot of fresher faces there and the way people are coming up. So yeah, I mean, you can't lose either way. If you had to choose, I can only keep one division, I mean, you're happy watching bantamweights for the next 5 years. You're happy watching lightweights for the next 5 years. But this main event itself it's as good as you can get, I think, for sort of this random. Not random. I mean, this return to San Diego. UFC getting back on the road again this year. San Diego's a place they wanted to return to. I don't know. There's some talk of maybe tickets aren't quite flying off the out of the box as much as they would like it to. But like I said, as far as main events go, I don't think you could have done much better. I think we forget that, and Shaheen kind of alluded to this, how unique Dominic Cruz once was, his style anyway, before a lot of people kind of picked it up and took pieces of it and added to their own. But no one does it quite like him still. He is a true original, who is, of course, closer to the end of his career than he is to the beginning. He's 36. He'll be 37 next month. He's been fighting since 2005. So we are seeing the end, even though when you watch him fight, you still see that movement. You still see that trademark movement, that accuracy, that approach that, again, others can't quite do. And it's going to be really sad, I think, when I don't think this is the last fight for him, but whenever he does retire, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after that, but probably within, sometime within the next 3-4 years, it's going to be sad when we see him go. So I think we really have to cherish these appearances as they come. He's on a 2-fight win streak. This isn't just him being fed to, some up-and-coming contender. I think it's a very competitive fight on paper. We'll give our picks in a second, of course, but I do like the style matchup. I do think you do get this element of that evasive, tactical Cruz versus, Marlon Vera, a very skilled fighter for sure, but a guy who's viewed a little bit more as a hammer. He's a guy who's he's going to go in there and at some point is not going to care about taking shots. He's going to want to just land some bombs and see if you can hang with him. So we've seen Cruz get touched up a little more these days than he did in his prime when his side to side lateral movement, everything, that head movement was just, nobody could figure it out. So I love the matchup on paper, and I'm really, really looking forward to this main event. Again, we can talk about the rest of the card in a bit, but just focusing on the most positive aspect of it, top class main event. Very, very excited for it.
I love the fight. I feel like Dominic Cruz, Sean, is just not getting enough credit heading into this one. Just so many people, I feel like this is the Marlon Vera show. It's just, they just need to get in the cage. And when it's over, Marlon Vera is going to be moving on to bigger and better things. And Dominic Cruz is just going to be the guy that he beats to get there. I feel like Cruz is not getting enough love here, Shaheen. I don't know if you've noticed that at all throughout the build to this fight at all, but at least that's what I've been seeing. That's what I've been hearing from the peeps on Heck of a Morning. Have you noticed that yourself?
See, that's an interesting way to frame this in my mind, because it does feel like it should be the Cheeto show for the most part, at least in the lead up, right? Because if you look at the two men, sort of what they've done over the last year or two, Marlon Vera has been the more impressive fighter between the two over the past couple of years. He's probably been the fighter, he is the fighter on the rise between the two. He's the fighter who feels like he is the best ahead of him, whereas the best is behind Dominic Cruz. That being said, I mean, I think it's certainly silly for anyone to ever count out Dominic Cruz, right? Like we can go back just even to one of his many comebacks when he came back against TJ Dillashaw, and TJ Dillashaw was being pronounced as, this next big thing at 135, and Dominic Cruz came in from like 4 or 5 years off the couch and just beat TJ Dillashaw in one of the more incredible performances we have ever seen in the history of the sport. Like Dominic Cruz is just not a guy you can ever count out. So I can certainly see where you're coming from that regard. But I will say, I mean, it does feel like this is set up for Chito Vera in the same way that last week was set up for for Jamal Hill to do what he did on Thiago Santos. The UFC loves these type of matchups. And this is, again, sort of one of those things that feels like it's going to be the propeller for Chito Vera to sort of get to that title contention. But yeah, I mean, Dominic Cruz is Dominic Cruz still. Like, he doesn't have the damage on him. He doesn't have, he hasn't been in so many wars, largely because he's been out of the cage for so long throughout different points of his career. Like, I will never count out Dominic Cruz. And if Dominic Cruz comes in here and ekes out a decision, I wouldn't be surprised. And if he comes out in here and just styles and really just puts on a legendary performance, I wouldn't be surprised either. It's Dominic freaking Cruz. Like, again, one of the smartest guys we have in this game.
It's a good day to die. Isn't that what he said in this
little day to die, my friend?
Man, I got goosebumps listening to that, AK. What a line. It was beautiful. Set up perfectly by Chito, and Dominic Cruz, like, barely blinked, didn't raise his voice past, like, the smallest decibel point. It was just amazing. And then he drops that line, and I would have loved to have seen Chito Vera's face, like, side by side, because Chito's probably like, yeah, it is. You know it is, buddy. But what have you noticed the public's perception on this fight, AK? Do you feel like most people are just kind of thinking that this is the Chito Vera show? It's just a matter of time. He just needs to go in there and fight, and then he's going to go on to something else, which we'll talk about in a minute. But do you feel like Dominic Cruz is just, I don't know if overlooks the word, but just not getting enough credit, so to speak? Do you know what I'm saying?
By the way, in fairness to the line delivery, I don't know if I've ever heard Dominic Cruz raise his voice above like a certain level. He's pretty calm, even when he's doing commentary. Like, he's not gonna go to that Joe Rogan like, and that's why some people like him, some people hate him, but he's pretty like steady and monotonous regardless of what he's talking about. So, but I kind of want to play off of what Shaheen was saying, not just discrediting necessarily how good Cruz still is, but also what this win would mean, for Marlon Chito Vera, because it isn't just about Chito having to show up. He has to be like, he has to put on one of his best performances. Like, I get it. He gets better and better all the time. I need to see him take it to another level to beat Dominic Cruz, because there is a level. I mean, it means something if you beat him. He's 24-3. He's lost to 3 men in his career, guys. We kind of talk about, like, I mentioned him being older and close to the end of his career. It's not like, and getting hit more. Fine, that happens. The results have still been good for him. He beat Pedro Munoz. He beat Casey Kenny, which really could have been a unanimous decision. It was a split, could have been unanimous. Most media members seem to agree. It was a pretty clear Cruz win. His first loss, Uriah Faber, he avenged it twice. So you can kind of take that one for what it is, but he proved he's the better fighter than Faber. Cody Garbrandt, maybe probably the best version of Cody Garbrandt we saw, the best version we've seen since, and then Henry Cejudo. So he's lost to 3 guys. Henry Cejudo, a 2-division UFC champion. Does Chito Vera fit in that equation? Because those are 3 incredible names to put himself next to. If he is able to beat Cruz, whether it's by a first round knockout, narrow split decision, however he does it, if he gets an official W over Dominic Cruz, again, he joins Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt, Henry Cejudo. 3 guys who were, 2 UFC champions, 1 WEC champion, essentially would have been, the equivalent of the UFC champion at the time. 3 world champions. That's where Chito wants to be. That's where he has wanted to be for so long. He's been calling out big names for years, trying to get in position where he can be a world champion. Now, beating Dominic Cruz does not make him a world champion. I understand that. But even this version of Cruz, getting a W over him, an enormous achievement. And I don't want that to be downplayed. I want Dominic Cruz to get his credit for sure, for still being a competitive fighter. But if Marlon Vera gets that win, I hope he'll say, he beat past his prime. He beat a washed Dominic Cruz, because I don't think that's the case at all. Again, he would just be the 4th guy with Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt, and Henry Cejudo. So there's a ton on the line for Chito Vera here.
Let me also add
outside of
real quick.
Go ahead.
Because I've actually really enjoyed the lead up to this in the way that these guys' dynamics have sort of played off of each other. Because Chito is this guy who's just so hyper focused, right? Hyper intense, almost like mean to the point of just like you don't know why he's being so mean to you, but it's just obvious, like, dude, I take this very seriously and you're not my friend, that type of approach. And that is such a fun approach when contrasted with sort of Dominic's like analytic, like just, the way that he sort of just sees the game very detached and cold and like just numbers and sort of a fight IQ and all that. The way that's played off of each other, of just this whole thing of like Dominic being like, I'm not sure why he's so mad at me, and Cheeto just being like, I'm not mad at you, I'm just not your friend. And the whole like dynamic between them has been so enjoyable. Like it's such a fun dynamic. Cheeto has got to be like on a top 3 list of the single most intimidating just fighters under like 45 pounds, right? Like if you just saw that dude on the street and had no idea who he was, he would be terrifying, even though he's just not a large human. Like he is just so stone cold with his approach to everything. Like I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, there are certain fighters who, if you saw them, you're just like, that guy's a fighter. And Marlon Vera checks off all those boxes. Like no matter how far away he might be, you look at him and you're like, this guy probably gets in a cage and punches people in the face and gets paid a lot of money to do so. So, Sean, it seems like a simple question, but this is not a simple question considering what's going on at 135 right now. What is at stake here? What is at stake for these two guys? Because we got the title fight coming up. Next week, we got Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili. On the same card as the title fight, we got Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, not to mention some of the other up-and-coming fights that'll be on the books by the time October rolls around, 135 pounds. Like, what is at stake here? What the winner goes to the spoils. What are the spoils in your eyes?
That's an interesting question, and I think that's one aspect of why this division is so compelling right now, because it feels like this could go a lot of different ways with these matchups, right? Because I think first off, we just have to acknowledge and probably accept that if Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan, regardless of how he beats him, Sean's probably going to fight for the title. And that's probably the right call, because Petr Yan, I think all of us agree, is the number 2 guy in the world. Like he's easily, if there's a 1A Aljo, like he's the 1B to that. That's fine. If Sean wins, he fights for the title. Otherwise, I think it's all up for grabs. If Peter wins, if Jose wins, Merab, Cheeto, whoever wins, I think maybe the most impressively, and then can make the most compelling case for being that next guy after the Aljo Dillashaw, after they figure it out. I think it's wide open for anybody right now in this 135, that little mix we're talking about, to come in here, have a spectacular performance, get on the mic and really state their case and make the fans sort of propel them into that spot. It feels like it could be any number of these guys. And that to me is very, very exciting and very compelling and interesting when we're going into a setup like this, where we're about to get a bunch of these matchups back and forth.
What do you think, AK?
Yeah, I love it. It's exciting. I do feel a bit for the fighters. This is one of those cases where you wish the UFC had a more kind of clear title picture. But listen, it doesn't benefit them to ever establish anything like that, because they want to have options. Like, yeah, they want to have, hey, maybe it's Sean O'Malley. Maybe we can set up the Jan Sterling trilogy. Maybe it's Merab Dvalishvili. Maybe it's Jose Aldo. I get it. It's great to have options. What this means for Saturday's main event, again, there is... I feel like both guys, even with Cruz's name, even if Cheeto Vera has a big finish, I feel like there's still one fight away. I mean, it's good to get on that short list. I mean, if you're Cheeto Vera, like I said, you get a big finish of Dominic Cruz, or even a convincing decision win, that has to put you right in there. And they're like, okay, you're not our next choice. But if Shaheen said, let's say Sean O'Malley wins, but then he suffers an injury or something, like he gets hurt a lot. Let's say he wins and then just needs more time off to recover. Hey, look, Cheeto Vera's there. Let's say Jose Aldo beats Merab Dvalishvili, or vice versa. Again, one of those guys can't continue. Okay, they're ahead of Cheeto Vera in the pecking order, but Cheeto Vera's there. So not only, as I said before, is this so huge for Cheeto Vera's legacy to join the list of names that have beaten Dominic Cruz, it puts him on that short list. And he's done more than enough. It's not just this win. It's his whole body of work. He's got some of the most finishes ever in the division. He's an exciting fighter. He's a company man. This man has jumped in front of bullets aimed at Dana White many, many times. He loves Dana White. He loves the UFC. He is a company man through and through and through. So again, it sounds weird. I wish I could say that like a big win, convincing win on Saturday makes him the front runner. But as Shaheen said, Sean O'Malley probably above all else right now. And then you have more veteran names ahead of him. But again, just getting on that list, just being an option is huge, because he'll fight anytime. You call him up, you call Cheeto Vera up for a short notice title fight. man, I think he wouldn't have it any other way. I think he'd be like, yeah, you need me to be the guy. 10 days notice, I'm ready. I'm on weight. Give me my shot. It might not be what's best for him, but he would definitely do it. And it would definitely be an option if he can get that win on Saturday.
Time to make some picks. As of right now, according to our friends at DraftKings, Shaheen Al-Shatti, Marlon Vera, minus 240 favorite. Comeback on Dominic Cruz, plus 200. You don't see that very often. So who gets it done and how does he get it done?
Let me ask if you still have those odds up. Is that the biggest underdog Dom's been since, what, Cejudo probably?
I have to look this up. You answer, and I will come back with an answer. Probably Cejudo.
Sure.
You're probably right.
That's a surprising line. I mean, Cheeto almost a 3-1 favorite. I ultimately will side with Cheeto, so maybe that's the right kind of line. It does feel like this is, again, the same sort of dynamic that we had last week, maybe to a lesser extent, because I think Dom probably has more left in him than Thiago Santos. But this does feel like this is Marlon on the rise, Cheeto on the rise, and Dominic on sort of the decline, and we're seeing it just sort of meet at the perfect time for Cheeto and maybe the wrong time for Dom. I think 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, Dom wins this fight, but right now, if the fight we're having on Saturday, I believe it's going to be Cheeto. I think it's going to be relatively impressive where I don't know that he'll finish him, but I think it'll be maybe like a 49-46, or at least a fairly, there is such a thing as a dominant 48-47 where he wins the rounds that he wins more dominantly. I could see something like that as well, but I do think Cheeto by decision is the way this is going to go.
He was a plus 175 dog against Cejudo, so he's actually a bigger underdog in this fight than he was in the Cejudo fight. AK, do you agree? Cheeto Vera gets it done, or can Dominic Cruz pull off the upset?
I really want to pick Cruz, but I'm with Cheeto on this one. Damage. Listen, Cheeto maybe more than anyone at bantamweight just knows how to score those big hits when he needs them, man. And we saw it in the Rob Font fight. We said one of the best examples of how modern scoring should be interpreted. If you look at the stats, it's like, oh, Rob Font outscored him and out significant struck him in this round and this round and this round. But anyone who watched the fight said, well, Cheeto Vera, he landed the bigger shots. He landed the biggest shots of the fight. Cheeto Vera, the clear winner. There's no dispute. So you could see something like that here. You could see like, Dominic Cruz had a 5 or 6 significant strike advantage in round 2. And this could be like on the on-screen stats. I can see them talking about the on-screen stats. Like, these rounds are pretty close. But, Cheeto will either, will get maybe a knockdown in here or a flurry against the fence that doesn't score a knockdown, but clearly visibly has, Cruz kind of rocked or retreating. So this is a fight I think people are going to have to pay close attention to. And again, not just read a recap, not just look at the stats after. I don't think it'll play out exactly like the Rob Font fight, but it is Cheeto's ability to kind of land at this stage in their careers, to land the bigger punches, to do the damage that I think is going to make the difference. And I don't think there's going to be much controversy about it either. I think we'll be like, wow, Cruz still in there, still a competitive fighter, but Cheeto's just a man on the way up. And a guy who I think deserves to be talked about among the 5 or 6 best, 135ers in the world right now.
I definitely think that there's value on Cruz from a betting perspective at plus 200, because to me, if he could just, and this sounds just so simple, like you could break down literally any fight in this exact same way, but I feel it means a lot here. If Dominic Cruz can just not get knocked out, he's got a chance to win. Like, it sounds so easy to say, but yeah. I mean, but for this fight in particular, like, I think things are going to be very even between these guys on the feet. Like, I think they're going to have very similar volume. I think they're going to land just as much as one another. But Vera, like AK, you've talked about before, and there was such a difference in the Rob Font fight. He just needs that one shot to change everything. Like, you could hit him 175 times in a round, but he just needs to punch you in the face once. And if he gets you good and he drops you, he still wins the round, even though you outstruck him by like 100. It doesn't really matter. That's just who Marlon Vera is. He's such a gangster. And I'm curious to see how quick of a start Cruz can get off to and for how long, because we know as this fight extends out, that's when Vera starts to get real good. And he started off pretty hot in the Rob Font fight. Like, it was a slower start in the round, but as the round progressed, he lands the big shots, was able to finish the rounds in big ways to just get ahead and sort of work his way to a win. So I will lean towards Vera to get a decision, because in my eyes, for Cruz to win, he needs to be near perfect. Vera does not have to, if that makes any sense. So Vera could just be Vera and just fight. He could turn this ugly. He could turn this into some sort of a mid-range kickboxing match. He could turn into a wrestling match if he wants to. He could do a number of different things. He can make this real ugly and still win. Do that and win. So I think Vera just has a little bit more of an advantage in that sense, where he could take this in a number of different directions while Cruz really can't. But Cruz, there is definitely value there from a betting perspective. If I'm betting, I'd probably bet on Dominick Cruz, but give me Marlon Vera to eke out a close decision. I think he gets it done, a 48-47. I think it's one of those things where Cruz wins the first round, might even win the second, but then Vera takes over down the stretch. And by the time it's over, I think he has all the momentum, and then he wins the fight. And we'll see how the rest of this crazy division shapes out. So great main event. Should be a lot of fun. David Onama, Nate Landwehr is the co-main event. And then we get the battle of the Yasmins in the featured bout, which should be a lot of fun. Yasmin Uruguay and Yasmin Lucindo both making their debuts. Both are big finishers. Uruguay in particular is a lot of fun. She doesn't like to fight for very long. She likes to end things real quick, especially in the first round. Devin Clark is back against Azamat Mirzakhanov, Ariane Lipsky, Priscilla Cachoeira. That fight was supposed to happen last weekend. It's going to happen this weekend on the main card. Gerald Mearshart, our old friend, is back taking on Bruno Silva. That is the main card opener. We got some fun fights in the prelims. So, Sean, what is your Jeff Neal Vicente Luque fight on this card? Because we know the main event's great, but what's sort of that number 2 fight, at least in your eyes, on your personal card?
Yeah, this is it's a strange card this week. I mean, it's not the best card if we're being honest, but it does feel like it's filled with fights that could be very action packed. So it might just end up being a very entertaining card, somewhat similar to last week. Regardless of whether people know the names that are fighting or not. So for me, I mean, you look up and down that card, there was one fight in particular that stands out to me. You sort of alluded to it at the end. That's Bruno Silva and Gerald Mearshart. To me, I've been high on Bruno Silva this whole time. I have not abandoned the train. I still have my property on Bruno Silva Island right now. The Alex Pereira loss did not scare me away. He pushed Alex Pereira to a decision, and ultimately it seems like that's a difficult thing for guys to do in the UFC. So I enjoyed that fight. He was on a real tear before that. He had knockouts in really his first 3 UFC fights. He was looking like one of the best breakout fighters of 2021. Stumbled against Alex Pereira, but I love this matchup. I think this is a really nice rebound for him. And also just Gerald Mearshart is always fun. Like, Gerald Mearshart's never in a boring fight ever. Dude's like the submission king of that division, low key. No one really ever realizes that how good of a finisher he is. He is a true get-got fighter. And I think regardless of how that goes down, that's going to be just a really fun fight with a really interesting finish no matter what. So I have my eyes squarely on that one.
That's a great pick right there. AK, what's yours?
I am so torn by the penultimate fight of the card, which I want to call it a co-main event. I mean, clearly it does not pass the qualifications of a co-main event. Neither guy is like a former champion. Neither guy is near a top 15 ranking. Neither of them is like a veteran. But in terms of like entertainment value, Nate Landwehr versus David Onama is sick as hell. Nate Landwehr, it's a cliche. I know we see this for a lot of fighters. Nate Landwehr is never in a boring fight. Often to his detriment, two of his UFC fights have ended in highlight reel knockouts of him. But his other fights, Darren Elkins, and again, both those fights, both those knockouts, very memorable. His win over Darren Elkins was awesome. That fight was just super bloody and super fun. And the fight with Ludwig Klein, we got to see the first submission of his career. We got to see Abu Dhabi Combat Club Nate Landwehr, which was super exciting. And then before that, M1 Challenge, he was just having wars pretty much every friggin' time he was out there. So I know it's not really a quote unquote co-main event. It doesn't pass the test, but boy, that's a great fight to have like second last. I'm glad they put it second last. I'm glad it got put back together because it was targeted for another card and it kind of fell through. And they said, hey, wait a minute. Someone said, this is a great matchup. We cannot let this matchup die. So I don't know if Onama, again, continues his really impressive run at 145 and just like puts Nate Landwehr away in the first 2 minutes. Very possible. Or if Nate Landwehr can drag him into a war, like a classic Nate Landwehr war. That was tough. If that can happen, honestly, if Nate Landwehr can get out of the first round, we're talking like I'm probably hyping this up too much, but I don't care. We're talking like fight of the year candidate. Like I love this matchup so much.
Wow. All right.
Nate Landwehr does not get enough credit. He's had a lot of fights fall through. If he had like 7 or 8 fights in the UFC, we would be talking about him as more people would talking about him as one of the most exciting guys in the UFC. Like always delivers. He's just not in a boring fight. It doesn't happen. But he's had a lot of fights fall through. He's only had 4 fights since he debuted, like I think 2 or 3 years ago. So again, he hasn't been as active as we need him to be. But I hope this man could put together a run of fights, make a lot of money. Big Nate Landwehr fan, even if this means a 45-second knockout at the hands of David Onama. I'm really looking forward to the second last fight in the card.
We don't take our nicknames for granted here. When we say Prince of Positivity, as you can hear,
that's a great fight.
Prince of Positivity.
It's a great fight. You don't need to be that positive for that. That's a great fight.
There's a few that I'm looking at. I mean, Ode Osborne, Tyson Nam is just going to be a freaking banger. Those two are going to beat the hell out of each other, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm very interested in Nina Nunes, Cynthia Calvillo, because both women need a win very, very badly. Calvillo got beat up real bad in her last fight, so we'll see how she's able to bounce back. But there's no way Angela Hill, Lupi Godinez is not going to be just a ton of fun. So that's the one I'm going to go with. That's going to be my answer leading into the main card, but it's probably going to go to a split decision, and it's one that Lupi Godinez is probably going to win, even though a lot of people think Angela Hill might have won, and Angela's going to be on the wrong end of a split decision, because that's just the story of her career over these last couple of years. So, but that fight should be fun, regardless of who you bet on or who you're rooting for, et cetera, et cetera. So, and what I really like about this card is that the prelims start at 4 p.m. Eastern, and the main card's at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'll take that for a fight night every single time. But with that being said, let's go to the peeps, take a few questions before we head on out of here. Hello, Casey.
Hi. Hey, guys. How's everyone?
Love that shirt, Casey. Excellent shirt.
Fight the power, baby.
Do you know that originally they were a polka band? Yeah.
Great polka band.
Yeah. Polka.
Yeah. Great polka band.
By the time I get to Arizona, one of the greatest beats of all time.
Oh, greetings from Spain.
Ooh, oh, hey. Oh, no.
Hola.
Hey.
Hola.
Hola.
Is that
we're off Twitch?
Man, wait. Oh no, everything. There we
go. I think it's still messy.
Ah, jeez.
Yeah.
Get this Shaheen off of me. Okay. Get the Shaheen frame. There we go. Oh.
Neat.
There we go.
Hey.
All right. All right. There's a lock button on here for a reason. All right. Here we
go. Lock it in. Lock that in.
All right. What questions we got here?
Joseph Bozo, will Dominic get the home cooking from the judges, Shaheen? Are you concerned about that at all?
No, and I'm actually really interested to see the crowd reaction for this, because obviously it's in San Diego. That's sort of Dominic Cruz's hometown base. But like, people love Cheeto Vera, man. Cheeto might be the fan favorite here. Like, dude, people just love that dude so much, and I get it. He's very entertaining, very compelling. But like,
Cheeto just trains down the street. It's not a hometown fight. I mean, San Diego is only a 2-hour drive. You know, it's like
Dom's like rep San Diego forever. You know,
yeah,
he's like sort of that guy. But
everyone come from Orange County, where Cheeto trains out of. It's not that far. I mean, I think Cheeto is going to get a bigger pop.
I think you might be right.
Ooh,
I think you totally might be right.
And it's not like an anti-Dom crowd. I think it's just Cheeto's red hot right now as far as everything. Like you've seen the numbers, the analytics, everything Cheeto says. Like he's popping. Like he's like a pay-per-view star. You know,
even his media day video.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
like blew
crazy.
up. Like people love Cheeto right now,
so
for good reason.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting we talk about, because when we talk about the fact that it's in San Diego, does that benefit Dominic at all? No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, me neither. Yeah.
Casey, I don't know if you can pull this up. Eric Wolf is asking, will they answer questions from here? No.
Good night.
Next
everybody.
one. Next one. Next one. No.
No.
Next one. No.
Get out of here.
JK, Eric, well, we love you.
Yes. Ask a question, Eric. I think we had covered this.
But
Title shot on the line in the main event.
Any chance?
I think there's totally a chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
If Chito Vera goes out there and knocks out Dominic Cruz in 25 seconds, like Chito Vera is going to get that title shot. That's it.
Any chance for Dom? Dom's, I mean, 3-fight win streak. He's a big underdog, and say he demolishes. Just
I think
50-46 Vera.
I think he would be then one fight away and probably fight the winner of like a Aldo Marab or like something like that.
What if TJ beats Aljo? Then there's that kind of that rematch intrigue, I guess.
I think there's a good chance. Not a good chance, but if it's a dominant win by Vera, dominant win by Cruz. I'm not expecting a dominant win, but if we get one, I don't know. I think a lot of tones would change. I don't know.
I say no. Yes or no. My answer, like if I had to pick yes or no, my answer to this question, no.
So no for Cruz, yes for Vera, though.
No for either. I don't think either guy.
I think there's a small chance for Vera.
Yeah.
Small chance for Vera.
Yeah. If the way all the rest of the division sort of plays out right for him.
So say Jan beats O'Malley handily,
and then like Jose and Marab is like a pretty boring fight. I could see Vera sort of being that guy.
All right. A lot of options.
If Jose Aldo wins next week and his next fight is not for the title, I'm going to damage Command 0.0 here because that's just unfair. That guy deserves it. He deserves the freaking title fight now. And if he beats Marab,
preach into the choir, Mike Heck?
The guy nobody wants to fight. If he goes out there and beats Marab and doesn't get a title fight off of that, I will be flabbergasted.
Mike, no. Are you going to start pulling the choir?
I will fly out there and help you damage Command Center 2.0.
No,
as you know, no one is afraid to change command centers more than I am. I've changed command centers like 17 times since I've joined MMA fighting. Right. I ain't afraid to change it up again. So Jose Aldo, if you win, command center, hopefully it stays in place. Hopefully all is right in the world and you get the title shot no matter what happens in any of these other fights. But
he should have gotten it already. We don't need to do it, but he should have already gotten it.
100%.
The TJ fight is silly, but whatever.
Yeah. I would say very small percentage for either guy, but Vera probably has more of a chance than Cruz.
All right. Interesting. I just love this bantamweight division. It can go so many ways.
I love it. So good right now.
It's fun.
Do you guys see Dom as a champ once again? Be a hell of a story, Sean. I just don't know if it's a long road.
It's so hard right now with this division. We're just talking about how good this division is. Like, this is not heavyweight where you can sort of be on the decline and or light heavyweight where you can be Glover Teixeira and have like a magical, or even like middleweight with Michael Bisping. Like the lighter weight classes, this stuff does not happen. Like, I think Dominic Cruz would by far be the oldest champion of a lighter weight class if he was able to do something like that. Like, it's just it's a young man's game. I think Aldo's like 34, 36.
Aldo's actually a little younger. He just feels like he's older because we've seen him fight so many times. I think.
Yeah. Like, this just does not happen in the lighter weight classes, this type of stuff.
Nope.
All right.
We'll see. What a story.
Would be incredible. I mean, it might have surpassed Bisping as like the most unlikely title run, right?
With all the injuries, if you count just not necessarily in cage losses, but it's more of his injuries.
Just all of it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's for another conversation, man. But at some point, I just hope we see Cruz versus Aldo. I kind of want to see that.
Yes, please.
The stars haven't lined up right, but I just hope we see it before these guys are on the too far in the back end of their career.
That finally shuts the door into the WEC, right? You know, Cowboy just retired, and then you have to have that fight. You really put that final,
We're never shutting the door on the WEC.
Yeah.
Ever.
At some point, you have to, guys. At some point,
how many WEC guys are still left in the UFC?
It's got to be single digits, right?
Dom,
I can't be more than 9.
Poirier.
We can't do this on air.
No,
just we count Clay Guida. Clay Guida, does he count?
Maybe.
Sure.
All right. Questions. No, guys, we're sticking to this card. Fan Q&A tomorrow. We can talk about John Jones.
No,
we're just getting questions.
Fighting on this card.
Yeah, we're just getting like random questions, like what's up with Colby? And like, oh, Fan Q&A.
Listen to Heck of the Morning, and you'll find out what's up with Colby.
Yeah. So many Colby questions today. So many John Jones questions. Well,
people are sick of this welterweight division where nobody's doing anything and everybody's squatting on their rankings. It's so silly.
It's absolutely
this
insane.
this is more of a comment. Don't necessarily agree with it, but it's Mr. Boza.
Of course, ticket sales are lousy. On paper, ESPN, UFC on ESPN 41 stinks. I mean, come on, it's David Onama versus Nate Landwehr, a quality-worthy main event.
Co-main
Or
event?
I
Co-main
think you're
event.
saying co-main event. And just by the way, this was supposed to be in Boston. This is supposed to be a Boston card
Oh,
tomorrow. True story. And I will say, just because the Boston fight fans don't mess around, there would be no lousy ticket sales. Just throwing that out there because we don't mess around. But yeah, how bad are they? Like, how bad are ticket sales for this one? I'm surprised.
It has nothing to do with the card. There's a reason the UFC doesn't go to San Diego very often. There's a reason they don't send pay-per-views there. It's just San Diego's just not a hotbed as far as buying tickets. They have a lot of regional cards there. I mean, you'll see a lot of good AMI cards, Pro-Am cards down there. But yeah, traditionally just UFC like San Diego and like say Miami, like UFC doesn't go to Miami. Why not? Just it's not the fan base is there, but they just I don't know. People just don't want to.
There's other stuff
inside.
to do Miami.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's other stuff to do in San Diego, I guess. Yeah, so that's why you just don't see big events down there. Not sure why.
Yeah,
they just don't buy tickets.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue on that map, an awful lot of blue on that map, and that's not a good thing.
Oh, on like the seat chart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is Jake Paul Rockman Jr. esque on the old chart there.
Oh wow,
Too
wow,
soon.
you got a big Jake Paul. Too soon.
soon.
Oh man.
R.I.P. Nobody remembers how poorly Vera fought against Aldo. Where is this coming from? Why is everyone saying he's a Terminator?
Look, man, if we're gonna rate everybody on how they fight against Jose Aldo, this is just not a thing anymore.
I put this out there just to make you guys go crazy.
No, hold on. Yeah, no, I saw this pop
The
up
way
earlier.
people judge fighters.
Shaheen, hold on. Shaheen, let me please breathe. Let me take this. Take a moment to gather your thoughts. I saw this question earlier, so I was prepared. I was prepared. First of all, I don't recall him fighting necessarily poorly. I remember Aldo fighting really well. Like, that's how I view that fight. Like, that is, I don't know if you want to say Vera wasn't at his best, but I think that takes away from how good Aldo fought in that fight to just say, oh, Vera fought poorly. Like, that's why Aldo won. No, Aldo was friggin' amazing. Maybe it's a good stylistic matchup too. That for sure I'll concede. A very good stylistic matchup for Jose Aldo. That's fine. But I don't think there was anything necessarily bad about how Cheeto fought that night. Aldo is still, again, one of the best 135ers in the world, one of the best strikers we've ever seen, pound for pound in any weight class. So losing to him, there's no shame in that, and it doesn't say anything about like, oh, because he lost to Jose Aldo, that means he can't beat a Dominic Cruz. It's apples and oranges. It's a Cheeto at different stages of his career. So we're not saying he's a Terminator. If anything, we've said he's probably not going to run through Dominic Cruz. But we just like his chances at this stage of where he's at in his career, where Dominic Cruz at his career, to win a decision. So maybe there's some other people, I don't know, in the comments saying like he's going to like knock Cruz out in 30 seconds. That I think is maybe a bit much. But yeah, the Aldo fight for me does not relate to this one at all.
Jose Aldo is a top 5 fighter of all time, and the disrespect is outrageous. Also, we don't need to do a Jose Aldo episode because that's basically what it's turned into. But like, I feel like people sleep on how absurdly impressive it is that Jose Aldo's doing this at 135. Like, whatever this is that he's doing at 135 makes no actual sense if you followed this guy for most of his career when he could barely make 145, and now all of a sudden he's like a legitimate world title contender at 135. Like, that goes way over underlooked.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Did he just stop eating acai? I mean, did he really break it down? Like, what was it?
I mean, that's a tremendous sacrifice if that's what he did.
Yeah,
that
it is
delicious.
Yeah. Is it really? Yeah, it is delicious. I was so bummed out when I found out it's not that nutritious. I was like,
it's like kind of
healthy
dessert almost. Yeah.
I was like, this is healthy. Like, no, like, oh
man,
it's like, it's berries. That has to be healthy.
Should we take one? We'll take one more.
One more. Here we go.
Oh, there's 3 undefeated fighters on the card.
I love that.
Will any of them lose their 0?
Yasmin Haudagi, Azamat Mirzakhanov, and
Josh Quinlan.
Josh Quinlan. Will any of them lose their? Interesting.
Who's the second 0?
Mirzakhanov and Haudagi. Will any of them lose
I'll
their
say
0?
I don't think so,
Josh,
actually.
I'll say Josh Quinlan will, just because, and the other reason I'm saying this is this is his first UFC fight, right?
Yep.
This will be his
I
debut.
believe so. Yeah.
Correct.
Dude's been through a lot heading into this debut, right? Like everything that happened last week into this week. And, was he going to fight on this card? Was he not going to fight on this card? Was Andy Foster and the California Commission going to get enough positivity from the Nevada Commission for them to go forward with this fight? I just think that's a lot for a 5-0 fighter to deal with heading into your UFC freaking debut. So give me Jason Witt, who's got a lot more experience in these types of crazy things to sneak one out, but I think the other 2 zeros will remain that.
Keeping it.
I think
Also,
so.
We have
too.
we have a comment here that
What?
gentleman says that a gin and tonic has more sugar than a rum and coke. Is that true?
Rum
That can't
Coke is-
possibly
Really?
be true.
Gentlemen,
Like a Coca-Cola can't possibly have less sugar than a gin. I don't know. I'm blown away. I'm sorry. That was random.
wow. That's the
See,
that's
ponder
the real
that.
question. I have
Ponder
a
that.
I have a quick question. One fight we didn't talk about. I get it, it's the prelim opener. Yusuf Zalal dropping down to 135. He started off his career 3-0 in the UFC, and he was like 23 years old or something. I think when he debuted, he was like one of the hottest like featherweight prospects for a minute, and he's had some rough luck. Now he's 3-3, so 3-0, then lost 3. Now he's dropping down a division. I don't know if you guys have any opinion on it, but like if you guys think this guy could be a player, I mean, he's dropping down to from one tough division to another. But do you guys still have? He turns 26 next month or soon, but very young guy. Do you guys still see like Yusuf Zalal as someone who could have some sort of impact here?
I always enjoyed watching him, and I know almost nothing about his opponent other than he's got a pretty cool name. But so I can't really tell you. I mean, if his weight cut went well, I mean, talk to me Saturday evening.
Yeah. Sleeper.
He's been
I'm
out for
excited to see him
14
back, though.
months, so
Yeah, I'm excited
he
to see
must
him
be
back.
doing it right.
Yeah.
I mean, Yusuf's a guy. I've talked to Yusuf a million times. It's been a while since I've actually talked to him. But one of the things, I mean, this is a guy who fought Ilia Topuria as he was supposed to fight on Fight Island, and then like Ilia Topuria made his UFC debut on like 4 days notice. And everyone who like is a fan of MMA outside of the UFC like knew how good Ilia Topuria was. And Yusuf Zalal's like, yeah, I'll fight him. I'll fight this dude. Like, no big deal. I don't care how many days notice it is. And Ilia beats him. And like Ilia didn't finish him. Like Ilia went up to 155 and knocked Jai Herbert out unconscious at 155, and he couldn't finish Yusuf Zalal. Yusuf's a fun fighter. I'm stunned he's going to 135. I think it's a really good move for him, but I didn't think from past conversations I've had with him, it didn't seem like it was even a possibility that he could get down, because he's talked about it. And then he went on a 3-0 run to start his career, and he was like, nah, man, I ain't going down to 145. Why the hell would I do that? And now
he
he's
used to
going
fight
down
a
to
lightweight,
135.
right? Used to be a lightweight, right?
Mostly a featherweight. Like he's probably had fights at lightweight just because he's an absolute gamer like that. But he's mostly a 45er.
He's
5'10" is a
talked
big,
about-
big
5'10", yeah,
bantamweight.
he's tall.
5'10" is
Yeah.
a big bantamweight, man.
Yeah,
That's
that's why I'm kind of stunned that he's going to 135, because I just didn't think that frame would allow him to do it. But I mean, maybe that's what he's been spending the last 14 months doing, is going to the PI and getting down to 135. So if he feels good, and Damon Blackshear is a tough guy, guy's probably been waiting for a call for a little while. CFFC champ, should be a good fight. Good call, AK.
Yeah,
Good call.
Yeah,
Show these boys some love. Show these boys some love.
I'm interested too because like those 3 losses at featherweight. I mean, okay, his 3 wins are against 3, I think, fighters who are not in the UFC any longer. Is Peter Barrett in the UFC any longer? I doubt it. No. Okay, yeah. So his 3 wins are against guys who are kind of came and went in the UFC. He didn't get demolished in his 3 losses. So he just lost to. I don't remember the Woodson fight really at all. I know the Woodson's probably the tallest featherweight maybe.
Yeah.
So I can't really remember anything from that fight. But but I don't remember him looking horrible or just getting demolished. Sorry.
No, just his dimensions like this division. Like he has a 75-inch reach. Like if you look at Sean O'Malley, I think Sean has like 72-inch reach. Like dude's gonna be incredibly long for this division if he's able to do it in a healthy way and not be a little too water deprived for his brain, you know?
Yeah, I wonder if it was his choice or the UFC kind of requested that he do it, because 3 losses, he could have got cut, but the UFC is giving him another chance to kind of prove himself. So, but he's entered an even tougher division. It's not like when you're a 45er, what are you gonna do? Go to 55? Oh, that division sucks. Go to 35? Oh, that division really sucks, and I'm really hungry. So, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Good for him. We'll see what happens. You can hit the music. And we'll be back again tomorrow, friends, 3:30 Eastern for the People's Pre-Fight Show, as we get you ready for UFC San Diego. Should be a lot of fun. So
that early start time is just music to my ears, baby.
I like that.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
Oh, I forgot our poll. I had a poll. I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys.
You only have one job, AK. You got one job.
I forgot. I had a poll running this whole time. 54% say Chito Vera will win the UFC San Diego main event. So almost a coin toss. Really close.
Only 54%. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Faith in Dominic Cruz. That's good. All right. Well, we'll see how it all plays out tomorrow. Until then, for AK, Casey, Shaheen Al-Shatti, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
We love you guys.